Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smoke and Steel podcast presented by StogieReview.com. I am Walt and this is episode 2. So I don't have the guys with me today. I guess technically I should probably call this episode 1.1 or something, but the incremental naming convention is driving me absolutely crazy because I keep messing it up. So in this episode, I want to talk about a really cool score that I got over the weekend. A huge thank you to Mark for helping me out. So let's kind of start at the beginning. Several years ago, me and a whole bunch of guys were hanging out at the local cigar shop. And one day we were introduced, or I was introduced to Cuban-style dominoes, double nines. And we started playing in the front room of the cigar shop. So you walk through the door, the cash register's here, then there's like a seating area with a TV, and right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the seating area, there used to be a domino table set up. And we would play, I want to say like Thursday nights or something like that. And it was loads of fun. I had never played before, but I was getting into it. It's a really easy game to follow. There's some trash talk. You play with teams. It's 4 guys. And it's just fun. And there's lots of camaraderie there. Well, eventually, Domino's got so popular that a second table got set up in the back private lounge. And occasionally, both tables would be set up in the back room, and 8 of us would be playing, and we would rotate teammates in and out, and people would sub in and sub out. It's just loads and loads of fun. It became a regular thing that we used to do, like every Thursday or Friday night. Just a group of us would get together, and we would see how many domino tables we could get set up, and we'd smoke lots of cigars, we'd tell lots of jokes, bust balls. It was just fun. Well, over the years, things kind of tapered off at that shop. I stopped going, and me and a core group of guys, most of the guys that you're going to see here on the Smoke and Steel podcast, we started hanging out at a local social club. And we thought, well, it'd be really cool if we played dominoes here as well. Now, they had just a traditional poker table set up on the floor, and we sort of commandeered it. I went out, I bought a set of dominoes. Mark brought a set of domino trays. And on Tuesdays or Thursday nights, we would get together and play dominoes. And again, just like before, it was lots of fun. Well, when we started hanging out here, a couple of the guys mentioned, it'd be kind of cool to play dominoes. Now, I have a set of dominoes in the house. Me and my kids play. My wife plays. On occasion, it's not like serious competition or anything like that. It's not like Monopoly where mean things get said and feelings get hurt. But we have a set in the house, and I thought, well, it would be really cool to maybe spring it on the guys one night and play dominoes. But I ran into a problem. I've got this like Samsonite folding table. Actually, the table doesn't fold, the legs fold. But it's like, 2 feet deep and 6 feet long. Now, if you've ever played dominoes on a non-domino table, you know that depending on the surface, it can be really challenging because you play across from one another. You play across from your teammate, and then you're playing against 2 other guys that are on opposite sides of the table. So in a situation like this, me and my partner, we would be playing dominoes really short. The guys on the end of the table, they'd be playing dominoes really long. And that was one of the issues that we ran into at the social club. The poker table was, I don't know whether it was a 6-seater or an 8-seater, but it was pretty big around. And instead of being able to place your dominoes like you normally would, a lot of times you'd have to like pitch them to the guy on the other side so that he could put the domino at his end. Or he would pitch dominoes to you and you'd put them on the end. Or you'd pitch dominoes to the side and they'd kind of put them where they belong. So very doable, but not quite what it's supposed to be. So from there, I thought, well, this table's obviously not going to work, and it would be, but it would be really cool if I could get my hands on an actual domino table. So Eric started looking for me on Facebook Marketplace. We were both keeping an eye out, searching the radius for domino tables to pop up on available for sale, and he came across one I believe was a Monte Cristo table. I don't remember what the image was in the middle. It was just it was listed on Facebook Marketplace as a Monte Cristo poker table. It was not a poker table. It was a domino table. But the woman wanted, I don't remember what she was selling it for, like $125 or something like that. And I made an offer on it because I didn't really feel that it was worth $125. They offered her a little bit less than that. What I felt was a fair value. I wasn't trying to like gouge her or undercut her or anything like that, or just lowball her. But she rejected the offer. And just out of curiosity, I looked at her other listings, and it appeared as though she was a professional, not like a professional domino table, but a professional domino player, but like a professional. It was like she made a living selling things on Facebook. So she either just sold a ton of stuff out of her house, or she had a thrift store. I mean, she had like over 100 items. So when she rejected the offer, I wasn't really surprised, and I just kind of let it go. I thought, well, maybe the listing said it had been up for a while. Give it some more time. Maybe in a month, she'd be more receptive to my lower offer. Well, a month goes by. The table's no longer available. Someone obviously bought it. And I started looking at other options, and I was kind of striking out. I did find a variety of brand new tables that were being manufactured. I assume they were being manufactured in Reading. There were lots of them up there. But the problem that I kept running into was none of them were cigar specific. Not that that was really an absolute must have, but I also didn't want a domino table with the Puerto Rican flag on it, or the Mexican flag, or I don't know what the significance is, but roosters. I like none of that really appealed to me. I wanted, being as we're a bunch of cigar guys, like I wanted a table that you would see at a cigar shop. I've seen lots of Monte Cristo tables. I've seen, I don't remember whether they were Nestor Miranda tables or if they were Miami cigar tables. And I've seen a couple of tables from other manufacturers. So I thought, well, if I'm striking out locally, maybe I reach out to one of my friends, a longtime contact from Oliva, and see like, hey, do you have an Oliva table? Because I like Oliva cigars. It would be really fitting in my lounge given the number of Olivas that I've smoked over the years, my fondness for them. And Dave got back to me, and he's, like, you're in luck. We're actually sponsoring a domino tournament in Miami. So we're getting a bunch of these tables made up, and the price is really good. It's like $150 for this table. It was beautiful. It was like heavily branded Oliva, but it was a beautiful table. The downside, though, was that the freight charges from Miami were an absolute killer. If I wanted it trucked out here, and then I had to unload it from the truck, it didn't have tailgate delivery, it would have been $200. If a truck was going to bring it out here and the guy was going to take it off the truck for me and deliver it to my driveway, it would have been $500. So I just couldn't bring myself to spend that kind of money on an Oliva table, even though I really wanted the table. The price was right. The shipping was just outrageous. Sorry about that. I had my first technical difficulty of the episode, where the batteries in my my audio recorder died, and I have to backtrack a little bit. I remember the last words that came out of my mouth before it died was, unfortunately. So I think what I was saying was that I kept an eye out on Facebook, and unfortunately, I just couldn't find anything. Like, nothing was popping up, and it was kind of bugging me. So I thought, well, the next best thing is I could do one of two things. Either I can buy poker tables, because there seems to be a lot of those. I don't really have any interest in playing poker, but a poker table would suffice. It would work. Or what I could do is go to Walmart and buy one of those little 3-foot by 3-foot card tables, that fold up. They're really nothing special, but they would kind of get the job done. And I've got dominoes in the house. I've got the racks in the house. So it would work. It wouldn't be ideal, but it would work. So that's actually what I was planning on doing, until one day I'm perusing Facebook Marketplace, just kind of scrolling through. I was actually looking at motorcycles, even though one is not in the cards now. But I was scrolling through, and lo and behold, a domino table popped up. It's right over there. and it was perfect. It's an H. Upmann table. It's not really a brand that I smoke, but it's a classic brand. It's a very recognizable brand, and I thought it was really cool. So instead of the usual, like a lot of these tables you see in cigar shops, the Domino rack, the holder, is a cigar, and it's got little ash painted on the end of it, and it looks kind of cool. But this table did not have that. Instead, it had a slot routed into the ledge, which I thought was kind of cool, different from what I'm used to seeing. But best of all, usually a lot of these Domino tables you see at cigar shops, they have cup holders in the four corners, which is really handy for a can of soda or bottle of water or whatever you're drinking. But this one, it had the cutouts, but it came with metal inserts that were actually two circles. One is an ashtray, and the other is a cup holder. So one of the things that I was worried about getting a Domino table is I thought, well, I'm going to have to get floor stand ashtrays because there's no place to put an ashtray on a small Domino table. This, lo and behold, solves that problem by providing not only an ashtray, but a cup holder too. So it's a little beat up. It's got some dings and dents, but you know what? I really like it. I was pretty happy. So I come across this listing. I absolutely love it. I want this table, but I got a problem. My car died. I threw my back out. So I didn't really have a way to get over an hour away to get the table. And then even if I did get there, I wasn't going to be able to physically pick this table up and carry it to the vehicle. So I thought that I was going to be out of luck. But Mark came over the night that we recorded this episode, or not this episode, but episode 1 of the Smoke and Steel podcast. We're sitting here after the recording was done, and we were just talking about different stuff. And I said, yeah, I came across this really cool Domino table. I really want it, but it's just not in the cards. I'm not going to be able to get it. He wanted to see the pictures. I show him the pictures. He's like, what are you, crazy? Tell the guy you want the table. I'll drive you down to get the table. I'll load the table for you. Like, you need this table. It belongs in this space. So I reached out to the guy, and I didn't hear back for hours. It was like later on the next day. He finally got back to me and told me the table was mine if I wanted it, and we arranged pickup. So Mark and I coordinated, and we went down and got the table on Sunday, which coincidentally was also my birthday. So I had the day free. I didn't have anything going on. My wife took the day off, so she was able to take care of the kids. Mark and I were able to drive out to Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, and pick up this table, and it just worked out really, really well. The house, we picked it up at a guy's house, and it was actually a vacant house. I guess he was in the process of moving. We got to talking very briefly. He said that he really hated to get rid of the table, but he didn't have room for it in his new place, and he just wanted to see someone get some use out of it. Well, hopefully, we get a lot of use out of this table. Hopefully, the first game we play is tomorrow after we record the Smoke and Steel podcast together. So I'm pretty excited about that. So the table's set up. We're all ready to go. Just a matter of getting the guys out here to use it. So on the way back home, actually, we wound up taking my wife's van. So this table, some of the tables that you see online or at cigar shops, the legs fold up under it, so it can store up against a wall. This table, the legs don't fold. You can unbolt them and take them off, but I got a little gun shy when the guy told me bring tools to take the legs off if I was going to need to break it down. So instead of Mark driving, I made some arrangements to be able to take my wife's van. I drove down there. We just stuck the whole table in the back of the minivan in the mommy mobile, and off we went. On the way home, we're driving down Route 202, and Mark's on his phone, and he says, "Hey, just to let you know, there's a cigar shop that we're going to be driving right past, just in case you want to swing by." Now, I knew I had stuff going on when we got back, and my in-laws were coming over and stuff, and I was a little tight on time. I wasn't really sold on stopping for cigars, but Mark went out of his way to help me, and I knew he was kind of excited to check out the cigar shop. We'd never been there before. It was called Old Havana Cigars, And it's literally right off 202. So you just, in the shopping center, there it was. So we pull in, we go inside, and it was a pretty small shop. Narrow building, not much of a retail space, and I don't want to say it was medium-sized walk-in humidor, but it was maybe, I don't know, the building was maybe 16, 20 feet wide, and the humidor was not much deeper than that. It was probably square. So they had shelves around the perimeter. There was like an island, actually two like smaller shelves in the middle. So we sort of made our way around. And pricing was a little on the high side from what I'm accustomed to seeing, but the selection was pretty good. He had, it was the first time I had seen the Padron Fuente collaboration box in person, in display. $178 a stick was a bit steep, but it was really cool to see that. I wound up picking up an Olmec from Foundation. I picked up a Liga T52. I think Mark bought a Tabernacle, maybe a Plasencia, and I think he bought something else. So while we're in there, I hear a baseball game playing, and I knew there wasn't one playing in the front area when we walked in. So I guess there was like two doors at the back of the humidor. They were not like ADA accessible doors. They were kind of narrow, maybe 2 feet wide, 30 inches maybe. But we kind of peered through, and it looked like there was a cigar lounge back behind the walk-in humidor. Kind of a weird situation where you had to come through the front door, through the humidor where you select your cigars, and then into the lounge in the back of the store. It was sort of a narrow but deep building, and that's just sort of the way it was set up. So we didn't go into the lounge. We didn't have time. We did pick up some cigars, and I was sort of perusing. While I paid for my stuff, Mark was checking out, and I was sort of perusing the perimeter. They had lots of cool humidors. I didn't look at any of the prices. Some of them were kind of stacked on top of one another, so the couple that really caught my eye and I would have liked to look at closer had humidors on top of them, and I didn't want to have to like play Jenga and pull that stuff down, that sort of thing. There was a rack of ashtrays. On the bottom, I remember seeing an Oliva ashtray, the old brown one, square one. I haven't seen those in a while. I think the new ones, or the new-ish ones, are round. In the middle shelf, the nub leaf ashtray caught my eye. I haven't seen one of those in years. And then, on my way out the door, it caught my eye was the Fuente Opus X dog bowl. It was just kind of sitting on the shelf. And I told Mark, you better reach out to Eric, because I know he was talking about getting one of these. I don't remember if it was going to be a gag gift or if he was serious about buying it for Rob, but get in touch with Eric, see if he actually wanted this thing, because I seem to remember him saying something about he was going to buy one for $50. They had one, the price in the store was $30. I was tempted to just buy it and give it to him. But with my car imploding, I didn't want to go willy-nilly spending money. So anyway, Mark reached out to Eric, couldn't really get in touch with him. He was busy. So if anyone is looking for an Opus X dog bowl, there is one at Old Havana Cigars in, I believe it's Westchester, Pennsylvania, or right off of Route 202. And it's a cool shop, nonetheless. So to recap, huge thanks to Mark for helping me land this table. Without him being my ride and my muscle to help me get this thing out of this guy's house, which was down low at the bottom of a hill. It was a really steep driveway. So steep that I didn't want to take the minivan down the driveway in fear of getting it stuck on the way up. So big thank you to Mark for just making that happen. Without him, we would not have an H. Upmann Domino table at the ready. Oh man, sometimes when I turn on this recorder, I feel as though you are my therapy session and I should be laying on a couch while I talk. So, a couple episodes ago, I laid out this big long string of just really terrible bad things that have been happening lately, with a roof leak, water in my basement, my car breaking down, needing a tow, throwing my back out. today, I guess, was kind of the final nail in the coffin there. My mechanic, I had the car towed to my mechanic, and I asked him to take a look at it. And the prognosis was not good. He got under the car, he checked the fluid level in the transmission, said that that was all fine, everything appeared fine from the outside, but it's a sealed transmission. He doesn't do transmission work, and he couldn't see any obvious signs of damage. He did tell me that it was kind of strange because the car would shift into gear, forward and reverse just fine until it got warmed up, and then nothing. It would just go into neutral, and the car had no forward, no backward. And he said as soon as the car cooled down, it would shift again. But it would, like the car would lose power, like lose gears within 2-3 minutes of starting up. And it would take a little while for it to cool down and be able to drive again. And you really just, it was completely 100% unreliable. He said that it is not something he'd be able to repair. He suggested that I go to someone that specialized in transmission rebuilds and transmission replacements. So that's what I wound up doing. A couple of people had recommended this local shop in my area that does a lot of transmission work. They sort of specialize in rebuilding transmissions. So I reached out to them over the weekend, laid out all of my issues, and basically said, look, I would love for you to look at the car, but I really don't want to pay to have it towed yet again to another shop for you to look at it, tell me that it's going to be wildly expensive, and then I have to tow it out of there because it's just not worth dumping that kind of money into the car. So he called me back today. We got to talking. He said, I hate to tell you this, but the transmission in your Ford Escape is the most popular transmission we work on. He said we replace a lot of them. They are prone to failure, and it sounds like yours is amongst the many that have failed. Basically, he's saying that the torque converter comes apart, starts sending metal through the transmission, and it's not actually the transmission heating up and cooling down that allows it to shift and not shift. I guess what happens is all that metal starts flowing in the transmission fluid. It gets pumped into a filter. It clogs. The fluid flow is cut off, and then you've got no response out of the transmission, and it doesn't start moving again until the metal like literally falls out down through the filter and allows the flow to go back through again. So he said you might start it up and you might get 50 feet across a parking lot and you lose forward and reverse, or it might go a couple of miles, but no matter what, it's going to cut out and it's going to take a while to go again. So the price tag on that was over $5,000 to replace the transmission. So it looks like car shopping is in my future, and I hate car shopping. I hate the negotiation process. It's not something I've ever enjoyed in any aspect. This Domino table, I paid what the guy was asking me for it. I wasn't interested in haggling. It's just not something that I enjoy. Makes me very uncomfortable. So that whole process is going to suck. And I'm assuming that I guess we're going to start, my wife and I are going to start that car shopping process over the weekend. So fun. Well, folks, I believe that's going to do it for episode 2 of the Smoke and Steel podcast. Just kind of wanted to give you an update on the table and the whole process of buying it and getting my hands on it, getting it set up. I'm really eager to start playing on it and give you a little update on the whole breakdown situation if you're kind of interested in that stuff. So I'm going to cut off all the recording equipment. I'm going to get out my laptop, and I guess I'm going to start price shopping Toyota RAV4s, because I think that's what we're going to wind up with. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing your comments in the comment section below.